Today, we're going to talk about building your top tier dream team with no cash. Because if you're going to build a significant company, you're going to want to look impressive to everybody that you come in contact with as you develop the initial phases of your business. And in business, people are judged by what the team looks like. And in fact, if people thought it was just you doing this, they'd be a little nervous. They want to know that there's a team ahead of this company that you're going to build that are dynamic and have a track record. They've done it before, and people can have confidence that they can do it again. And your job, literally, if you're building out your company for acquisition of other companies, is to get star power onto your board or into your various senior office positions, that when you go to raise capital for your deal, you look impressive. And they're anxious to want to be part of your company and provide you with the funding that you need. That if you're talking to sellers, they look at you as having capacity to buy their company. The brokers look at you and they say, I'm going to show them my best listings because these guys are real and they're serious. That's the look and appearance that you've got to have. And if it's just you there, and you can't point to a team that's going to get this done that's credible, the chances are you're going to find this a lot more difficult, if not impossible, than if you have such a team. You've probably heard me say before, life is not about reality sometimes, it's about appearances. And people do things and judge things by how they appear. And your job is to make your company appear like it has the capacity to do what it is that you set out to do. All right, we're going to look at building your dream team, how to make your company look great for funding. And the major key here is to show capacity to deliver. We're going to do a deep dive into how to select a source of candidates database so that you have a plethora of qualified people to look at to recruit to your dream team. You always hear me talking about deal flow. You got to have a source of candidate flow so that you're not just looking at one or two or three possible candidates. You have the ability to gather into your process dozens and dozens, maybe even 100 or more potential candidates for you to screen for this process. We're going to show you how to retrieve the names and their contact information so you can reach out to them. We're going to show you how to compile the initial background information so that on each one of the candidates, you have a very thorough insight and an ability to evaluate them in a way that you can be confident that your evaluation is accurate. We're going to show you how to create a powerful recruiting email to then reach out to these people that is going to be irresistible to them. They're going to want to get in touch with you. And we're going to show you how to create a criteria for rating these candidates where you're able to now very quickly apply a rating to them that you can sift the chaff and you can find the kernel of wheat. And you can do it in a way that's efficient and quick and sure. We're going to show you how to set and conduct screening interviews so that you can screen these people in a way that gives you confidence that when you make your selection, you're making the right ones. And we're even going to show you how to capture non-responders, because when you send out those first emails to them, you're going to have some fraction of those numbers respond to you. That fraction is going to be as high as we can make it because of the way in which we're going to show you how to create that initial email, but there will be a lot of non-responders. So we're going to take one more swipe at those folks because many of them may not have answered you, not because they're not interested, but because they were busy, they didn't really see it, they didn't have time to act on it, it got lost in their email, and then we're going to make the candidates an offer that they can't refuse. All right? That's a pretty ambitious agenda for today, and in less than an hour, we're going to show you how to do all that. All right, let me bring up a slightly different version of the handout that I sent you. And the only difference is in the places where you're going to see yellow, and let me scroll down to some place where we got some yellow like there. In the handout I sent you, all these things are descriptions of what to put in there. In this one, I actually put stuff in there so that you could hear it in a more natural flow of how it reads or how it looks when people pick it up. But in every place where we have the yellow, you'll be putting in information that's right for you and your company. All right, let's go back to the top. Recruit your dream team. This is all about dream team recruiting email, whether it's LinkedIn, InMail that you're going to use to get back to them, or a letter campaign. I gave you this in terms of email, but everything you see here can easily be just redone as a letter as opposed to an email. And I'm going to take you step by step through every piece of what it takes to do this. First set of instructions, select databases for names and contact information of dream team candidates, okay? So you're going to have to find databases that can quickly tie you into the people you want to contact. Let's take LinkedIn, for example. You can go to LinkedIn and you can go to SBA, which has a division called SCORE, Senior something of Retired Executives. I forget what this stands for. Or you can even go on search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing, and yes, the thing I like about DuckDuckGo is they do a search of all the other search engines and they find you more than going to any one of them. And I like it because it doesn't throw up a lot of advertising that makes Google rich. Instead, you get a much more succinct method for doing this. And then you're going to look for keyword searches using certain obviously keywords. Okay, your best executives that for you are going to come from those folks that are retired or who are retiring. And that's because they got a lot of time on their hands. They're well schooled in what you need them for. They've usually got prestigious careers if you screen out the right ones, and they're going to look fantastic in the spots where we're going to put them. And so let's say you go on Google. Here's the words you're going to want to put in there. You start out with either putting in retired or retiring. Just start with retired. Then the next set of keywords right behind it. So you got retired typed in there. And then you're going to put in what you're looking for, right? Which is you're looking for an executive, or you're looking for a chairman, or you're looking for a board member, or you're looking for a CEO, a COO, a CFO. Whatever you're looking for, that goes right behind the word retired. And then you come down to the next category, which is the name of your target industry: the food industry, the apparel industry, the steel industry, the technology industries of the various types. So now you've got a fairly long descriptor in that search bar of what you're looking for. And the alternative to category number 2 there is to put in the name of a large company that would have high-powered executives and board members who are retiring or have retired that you would love to get on your board, and you search them by the major companies that are in the field that you're interested in going into. You're going to get the cream of the crop popping up. You watch. And so your sample inquiries would look something like this: retired executive sportswear, and see what that pops up for you. You're going to be surprised. Retired CEO sportswear, retired executive Ralph Lauren. Put in a big company, and we're going to see who out of their company is retiring. And this one here I love: retired executive food industry. Okay, so you can see what that looks like. And if you put that into DuckDuckGo, you're going to be amazed at what comes up. You're going to have a much better resource than you have if you go to any of the others. So I want you to get a feel for DuckDuckGo. You may have to download it onto your computer because you probably don't have it there, but it'll be worth it to use it, and I think you'll find it very helpful. You're going to select the method for initial candidate contact. In other words, how you're going to reach out to them. You're going to use email, you're going to use LinkedIn InMail. There's other resources too. You got to figure out which ones are available to you. And then you're going to want to create your template recruiting email or letter, including your logo, but not necessarily address or phone number. But then what's the sample recruiting email going to say? Or your letter, what's it going to say? What I did is, again, I want to describe this because everywhere where you see yellow, brackets in yellow, when you see your handout, what we have is descriptions of what goes in there. All right. Hi, John. This is your email or your letter, right? Hi, John. I read about your background on LinkedIn, and it was very impressive. I'm Harry Smith, the founder of Particivision. I'm building a 4-dimension movie production company that is blazing the trail for all senses stimulation entertainment. We would welcome your help where you can benefit once again from your core competencies and years of experience. So remember, we're talking to a retired person, right? So we want to let them know this is another shot at using their expertise and something they know really well and benefiting from it. And then we follow on with why you and why us. Particivision is requiring movie production and aroma integration companies prior to an IPO and needs your guidance. Board seats and C-suite positions are available. Be part of our high-tech, high-human touch culture. Join our world-class team of top executives and professionals based upon your availability. Receive founder shares and compensation based on your contribution. Put your hard-earned experience and expertise back to work on a schedule you help create. Check us out at, and then of course your URL, your website goes in there, right? All right, to schedule an online interview with me, send your name or CV to, and then you have your email. Thanks for your time and attention. Best wishes, Harry Smith, founder. Now, you don't have to put anything after your name if you don't want to, but founder is a good thing to be when you're trying to recruit for a young company. All right. Once you have your email, now you've got your list or you've got your search engine strategy planned down. So now you start filling up the names and emails, and off you go to send off this email. All right. And you're going to send out a whole bunch of them, not 1 or 2 or 3, hundreds. If you can take that amount of time, you're going to send out hundreds of these things because you don't care how many people get them. You only care how many come back. All right. You're going to want to establish a criteria for what is important for each position you want to fill. Establish a process to review and grade the resumes or CVs. Okay, you want to have a process by which you do this because otherwise you're going to have your thoughts all over the place. Remember, they have to look good on paper because everything your lenders and investors, sellers and brokers will see will come out of their resume or CV. See, they're going to tell you what they have in the ways of background, experience, accomplishments that's going to look good on your offering documents, your fundraising documents, your website, all the things that are going to help you to present a great image to the people that you need to do that with. Grade each candidate, A, B, C, or D. A, ideal, B, good, C, acceptable, D, unacceptable. Prioritize them, you drop the D's, that's easy, and send interview setting emails to your best candidates, all right? So you're going to take the ideal group first, and you're going to send them your next set of emails, which we're going to go over with you in a moment. And in your interview setting email, you send them several times that they can choose from, and then they choose them and send them back to you. Or if you really want to do this professionally, you set up a portal like a Calendly, a scheduling portal, where they can just go on there. It'll always know what times are free and let them plug in that time. Instructions for them to set an appointment using a scheduling portal like Calendly. It's a small investment. I suggest you do that. It makes the whole process easy, really easy, and automates it. Then this is what your email is going to look like, okay? If it's a choose a time email, it's going to look like this. Hi, John. Thank you for responding to my email and providing your impressive resume. I am pleased to invite you to a personal phone interview where you and I can get to know more about each other. Please select one of the following dates and times that work for you. Times are, and then you put in EST, EDT, PT, whatever time zone you want to give them this in. Then let me know your choice by reply email. Please include your phone number so I can call you at the appointed time, and expect a call from me to start the interview promptly at the time you selected and for it to last up to 40 minutes. Thanks. Looking forward to meeting you. Best wishes, Harry Smith, founder. Very straightforward. And the reason, by the way, that we have you calling them, I guarantee you, if you have them calling you, half of them won't call. They'll call early, they'll call late. It'll be a mess. On the other hand, if you call them, it'll go much smoother. So you'll find it's just much more practical for you to have control of the times that you're reaching out to people. All right, so now that basically is if you're letting them just choose the time from these, they get back to you with this information. All right, now let's say you're sending them the one that's attached to your Calendly. It changes a little bit. Okay, it's very similar, but it changes. Thank you for responding to my email and providing your impressive resume. I'm pleased to invite you to a personal phone interview where you and I can get to know more about each other. So far, it's the same. Here is a link to my online calendar, and then you put your custom link in there. Just follow the online instructions and choose a time that works well for you. Then send me a reply email confirming the date and time you set. Include your phone number for me to call you at that time. Expect the interview, and this is all the same as the other one. That basically is a small difference that happens right here that's just tailored now to using the portal instead of having them pick times and then respond to you. Then you got to put them on your calendar. Then you got to make sure there's no duplication. You don't want to do all that, okay? The portal will do a great job for you. All right, instructions. Send non-response persons a second email about 6 days after the initial email. So if you have a log of who you sent these things to, you check them off when they come back in, and the ones that didn't respond, you're going to about 6 days later send them another one of these emails. But this one's going to look like this. Sample non-response follow-up email. Hi, John. With your impressive background, I suspect you've been too busy to respond to my email of July 10th. But I sense you still want to make a difference in the multisensory entertainment industry. And then here, I just made a note, body to be your bullet points from the first email put into sentence format. And the reason we recommend that you change format is whatever you did in that first format, either they didn't get it was credible because it was bullet points instead of text, whatever it is, they didn't respond really well to it because they would have responded. So we want to take the second shot of them with a little difference in format so it has a little different look and feel to it. But you then take these bullet points that were up here, let me go back here, these bullet points, and you put them in, but now you do it in sentence and paragraph form, okay? So let's come back down here. Okay, looking forward to hearing from you. If you are who I think you are, we can make magic together. You're never going to go wrong complimenting people. You're never going to go wrong putting in what I call injectives, which are buzzes that tune people up to the fact that there's something exciting going on here. Best wishes, then you put in your name and your title is Harry Smith, founder again, would go there. Consider a PS on this one using the info that you learned about them online. You've got the information about them online because that's how you found them, right? You either found them in LinkedIn or you found them online. You're going to know something about them. And so you want to take something that sounds important about them and make that the reason you want to meet them. You're going to say something like, when you put your company together and you doubled your size in 6 months, then you doubled it again in the next 6 months, and you doubled it again in the next 6 months, and you went on doing that for 3 years. That was exciting to me, and I want to know more about how you did it, okay? So you're putting out something to them that lets them know that you know them, you are calling on them for a reason, that you're appreciative of their accomplishments, and generally people like to respond to that. Now, another way that we can do this too is, remember, this is down the bottom of the letter. Okay, so there's a theory that people do read the postscripts, even if they skip the stuff in the middle. So people go right to the beginning, and if they see there's a postscript, they go right to it. So this is something that they will read, actually, in most cases, before they read the center section here. But sometimes you can do it in the alternative, where instead of doing it as a PS, you'd put it above the "Hi John" in the beginning of this. So in other words, where it says "Hi John" here, above this in the email, you would put your whatever you would have written as the PS. So that way it comes right out and smacks them in the face as to why you want to be in touch with them, what you're thinking about them, and why you want them on board your team. Okay? All right, so now you've sent out that instruction. All right, now you've gotten all this feedback. You've gotten all these resumes. You've gotten all that stuff. You've rated them. You've decided which ones are the A, Bs, and Cs. And you've gotten all that down, and now you've got a sense of who are the more important folks to you. All right? And you want to now line up your interviews. They're already set now by your Calendly, and you got to prepare for the interview. Okay, if you just take the interviews with no preparation, you're not going to get anywhere near the results as if you take a little time and prepare for it. So how do you prepare for it so that these interviews are going to work great for you? Shortly before the interview, you want to reread the candidate's resume or CV. The next thing you're going to want to do is select and or write questions to ask that candidate that are really tailored for that candidate. I'm going to show you how to do that as we get down here. Review your answers to questions the candidate will likely ask. I'm going to show you questions that they'll likely ask, and you want to make sure you've got your answers ready. All right, dream team candidate interview. What's that going to look like? When you first get the candidate on the phone, begin with, "Hi, John. This is Harry Smith, founder of Particivision. Thanks for responding to my email and for your interest in Particivision. I've read your resume, and it's impressive. I'm especially interested in your achievements in the area of movie technology development. John, tell me a little bit more about what really sets you apart from the others." See, that's an example of a nice open-ended question that lets a person just pick it up and talk about something that you'd like to hear about. From there, just follow the flow and ask open-ended questions that seem important to understanding the true capabilities, attitudes, and needs of the dream team candidate. Examples of open-ended questions to ask during your interview, and I love all of these because they really get people talking about themselves and what they're looking for. And by the way, a lot of times you see I have John or their name in the front of them. I'm very likely to put their name almost in front of every one of these. John, how's retirement working out for you? You're going to open up his true feelings about that. In other words, is he happy about being retired? Is he saying, yeah, I love it. I play golf every day. I don't want to do another thing for the rest of my life. I meet my friends out there and it's the perfect life. That may not be your best candidate, right? On the other hand, he says, "What's a bear? I couldn't wait to spend more time at home. Now my wife kicks me out of the house because I'm spending too much time around the house. I'm not sure what to do with myself, and I really wish I was back at work doing what I love doing and doing it well." Okay, so now you got somebody you know is going to be interested. See, so that question opens up a lot of opportunity. John, what was it that most interested you in the email I sent you? See, now you're giving him an opportunity to tell you what his hot buttons are. What is it that he's really interested in? What do you miss about being a CEO of a movie technology development company? He can tell you now. What does he like about it? Chances are what he likes about it is probably what he's good at. Is this going to look great on his resume? Is he going to be a happy camper working with you? If you could design the perfect next 5 years of your life, what would that look like? Now you find out what his motivations are. What does he really want to be? What does he really want to accomplish? Where does he want to head out over the next 5 years? And is that going to jive with what you want to do and his ability to really be part of what you're doing in the future? Are there things you want to accomplish before you retire for real? And what are they? Especially if you've been having a conversation where it's really clear he's not really retired. He's dabbling in this, he's dabbling in that. So he's looking for something to really do. Okay. What contributions do you believe you could make to a young, aggressive company in the movie technology industry planning to go public in the next 4 to 5 years? Okay. In the question, you're telling him a lot about your goals. So that goes right under his radar. Are you capable of this or not? Doesn't think about that. It's like it's assumed you're going there. And now he's starting to think of, oh, they're going to go public. There's probably going to be a good stock play here. Chances are I can make a lot of money with them if they're successful. You're already conditioning him by your question. John, what would it take to get you out of retirement and make you happy? Okay. Again, he's going to tell you what his hot buttons are. You're going to look for what it's going to take to make him happy. And you're going to decide, I can't possibly deliver that, in which case he's not your candidate. Or if what he wants out of all this is something that you're thrilled and can deliver that as part of the package to him. See, and he's telling you how to close him on getting him on board. Tell me more about your experience with taking ZBQ Visual Technologies to #1 in its field. I'm assuming that's what he did in his past life. And again, people love to do that. They love to tell other people, especially that know their field, what they did to succeed and how they did it. In your resume, your accomplishment of being the first to develop 3D movies is fantastic. Tell me more about how you did it. Now, where am I getting this information from? Because I'm asking questions. Where am I getting this information from? These are the kind of things we tell you in the handout, because we describe in that box where you're seeing that information, what information you're going after and where does it come from. Okay, so it's all in the handout, but you're going to be exposed to a lot of information about these people before this interview. And you're going to want to know enough about them that you can pose these specific type of questions. Because if you do, your interview will be an absolute knockout. This guy or gal is going to fall in love with you. They're going to want to be part of this. They're going to be excited. You're going to have built up a cosmic bond with them just by virtue of asking them these kinds of really great questions that allow them to express themselves and also are allowing you to learn a lot about these people. You're going to want to be taking notes about all their answers. You may even want to have a recorder going so you can record them so you can come back later and review what it was that they said in part of your assessment process. So again, ask about their goals, plans, and expectations, all of which you want to know as much about them as possible. Let them talk and watch where they take the conversation. Just make sure you get your questions answered. Okay, where they take the conversation is important to you. If they just bounce around and they're not coordinated and they're just amorphous, they're probably not your person. On the other hand, if they're clear, if they're concise, if they know what they want, if they're sure of themselves, it's all a lot more indication for you as to how well they fit what you want in that very special dream team person. Keep the conversation as warm and friendly as possible. And in every personal interaction you have, remember, you are building a cosmic bond, and that's what you're doing here in addition to getting information. So hopefully everybody's clear on that. If they did not ask questions on their own about your company and what you're looking for, ask them, John, do you have any questions about Particivision or your role that I can answer for you, right? Okay, so that's what you're going to ask. Are you going to want to end each call? Because that's always the hard part. How do you end these calls? Okay, I would say something like, John, we are very fortunate to have several great candidates for the Particivision board position. So it may take us about a week to get back to you. Are you open to another phone meeting with our investors as we narrow down our selection? You don't have to get back to them with anything. The point is you're asking a question that puts the right thoughts in his head or her head as they're now going to wait a week for you to get back to them. Okay, great. Thanks, John, for your time and your interest in Particivision. It'll be a pleasure to speak with you in a week or so, whatever you want to add to the end. All right, now you're out of the conversation. It's done. All right, so you know how to get in, you know what to say, you know what to ask, you know what to look for, and you know how to get out. Okay? So that's the purpose here. Now, here are some sample answers to sample candidate questions. Some of them are going to ask, what's the compensation? Listen closely here. You might want to discuss with them that whoever you select, they're going to get 1 or 2% of the shares of stock or cashless options. Now, you'll notice that there is a highlight here. Cashless options. What are they? I'm going to take you through cashless options because it's one of your great power incentives that make it very hard for people to say no, but you got to know what they are, because if these are top flight executives and board members of significant companies, they're going to know what they are, and you're going to want to be able to speak in this language to them. So I'm going to take you through them. All right. There's little work to do until our next acquisition is closed, and the salary is commensurate with ability and function and starts with the close of the next acquisition. So you're not going to be paying them anything, but you're not going to want much from them until the acquisition that you're looking at or about to undertake closes, and that's when they step into the company and they get paid whatever your agreement that you work out with them over this period of time. Once we know the company, once we know their role for sure, and all of that's solidified. What do you need from me in the near future? Just remember, them asking you, okay? Very little until we're near the closing of our next acquisition. And you notice I didn't say our first acquisition. It doesn't matter that we haven't made any yet. It is going to be our next acquisition, right? The fact that it's the first, we don't want to say that. It sounds like we're a little too immature maybe for them to take us seriously. Then it may be a phone meeting or two. You may want to read some of our status emails just to keep posted on our progress, okay? So you let them know. Not much of anything up front. You may want to just keep posted. And then once we close the acquisition, that's when the bombs go off and the celebration starts and everybody gets paid. All right, so now that's that. All right, now we talked here about this, and so here's your footnote that explains everything. There are two kinds of what are called cashless warrants or cashless options. There's one that's called net exercise, and there's one called cashless exercise with a secondary sale. This one here, in short, is if I got an option on 1,000 shares and the options are worth a difference between what they'll let me buy the company stock for and what the company stock is currently worth or selling for, then those options have value. And normally I would have to put up cash to buy the stock, to convert the options into stock. And I've put up all this money and I may not be able to sell the stock that I got right away. So I got all of this tax liability for the difference in the price that I paid for it and the amount that the company's currently selling for, because I've now picked up that profit. And so I may have taxes to pay. I have all this cash I had to pay to get them. So a lot of people can't take advantage of their stock options because they still don't have the money to take advantage of them. If they could do it, they'd go broke picking up their options. So this cashless exercise allows that not to happen. And in the first one, if your options, because of the profit built into them, is worth $100,000, and you don't want to have to come up with the $100,000, or it's now $200,000 worth of stock, let's say, but the options are worth $100,000, the difference between what you have to pay for them and what they're worth. Instead, you turn half the options, and it varies, but half the options back to the company, and they cancel them, and they take the value that they would have had, and they apply that as if you had paid them cash. So now you get the other half without having put up any money. You can go into here and read this, but it explains exactly how it works. Exactly. Okay. And the same thing is true here with cashless exercise with secondary sale. And all this means is the company will have a partner that's like a funding company, and they'll either loan you the money to exercise the options, or they'll do a secondary sale, which they'll immediately take the options that you're putting up, sell half of them or whatever amount it takes, but before they even sell it, they'll give you the cash because they know that secondary sale is there ready to do. Okay, so again, read these completely and you'll understand that. All right, moving on. More answers to sample candidate questions. Are you interested in filling any other position? Sometimes they ask that, okay? And they ask it for two reasons. Number one, they got a friend that's maybe one of their retirement buddies that shouldn't be retired either and is a really heavy duty dude. Or they're asking because you've approached them and they've responded for a CEO spot, but they really would rather be a chairman or a board member and not the CEO, whatever it is, okay? And then your answer is always going to be this, no matter whether you have other things you'd want to consider them for or not, doesn't matter. Your answer is always, we have a great team and we're just looking to fill the whatever it was that they applied for, when we're just looking to fill the board of directors position. Now, why do you say that? You want to do two things. You want to evaluate why they're asking that question, okay? Because if they got a friend, you don't want a friend of theirs coming in, okay? You don't want two people who know each other on your team. It's too much of an opportunity for them to be too aggressive in you, think that you need them too much, that they have too much strength and power with you. You want people who come in and they only know themselves and the other team members are all new to them. That's important, okay? And then the other reason that you answer like that is it creates an anxiety in them, so that if you come back to them and you tell them something like, here, if you sense that the candidate is asking this question because they would be more interested in a different position, then after you've said that, you can ask them, is there a different position that would be better for you? And then if yes, what position would you prefer? Okay. No matter what they say, you tell them that position is tentatively filled, but I've made a note of your preference. Now that enables you at your discretion to get back to them and offer them that other slot if you see it's very easy to fill the slot you wanted them to fill in the first place with somebody else. Okay? So it puts all the controls in your hands. The answer is important in case you want to shift candidates into different positions. Okay? So hopefully you see that and why this method of answering their questions helps you to have control over the situation. Sometimes they'll ask, how did you find me? Tell them where you found them and how you searched that source. They'll be interested in that, and it just is a very straightforward answer. What you're going to want to do as part of the process is you want to create a rating sheet to record your rating of each candidate. Now, there are two ways I've seen people do this. One is they just rate each resume or each CV, and then they just work the pile. Another way to do it is you create a sheet or a log and everybody's name and numbers go on there. I like to do those things on Excel, by the way, because you can sort and move things around. It's just really good to do it that way. But where you specifically have a place to rate the various aspects that are important to you. And the ones that are important for you to rate are their communication skills, knowledge, how well do they appear to know their field and the role that you want them to play, phone presence, how comfortable are they talking with you over the phone? Are they loose and easy to talk to, or they seem tense and unsure? Do they communicate well? Attitude, are they positive and anxious to be helpful, or are they negative? I'm just retired. I'm really looking for something. If I don't find it, it's okay. Where are they coming from? Their values, are they primarily interested in contributing to building the company and the team, or are they focused on compensation? And I want you to pay attention to this in parentheses here. Do not spend time with those focused on compensation. They are not your people. Their values are in the wrong place. And at this stage of the game, you want people whose whole goal in life is to make a contribution, a significant contribution, because in the end, they know they're going to be well compensated when they produce. And again, you're going to rate their capacity to deliver. How well do you believe they can perform the functions and role your company needs, right? Now, if you've done all of these things, and you've rated them, you're going to know at the end of this process who you want, who you don't, and you're going to have an assortment to choose from that's going to be fantastic. Now, if you are not a person who communicates well on the phone, even though the script is basically laid out for you here, what I suggest you do is you sit in front of a mirror and you have the scripts in front of you and you practice. Hi, John, how you doing today? And then you go through the questions, okay? And you do it where you look yourself in the eye and you try and relax and you try and do it with as fluid a voice as you can, as conversational as you can. Make this easy for yourself, okay? Don't get hung up on anything has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be. You've already got such a perfected plan now in front of you that you can make a half a dozen mistakes and still do great. You still do great. So when you're finished with this process, you're going to have people anxious to work with you, signing up for your board and your CEO or your CFO or your CTO or your CMO spots, whatever it is that you want to have in order to be able to have this appearance of a great management team that has capacity to deliver this company to success. So that when you go to your investors, they look at that team and they say, wow, if I can put my money behind these guys for this great concept or this great business, I'm willing to take that risk. Okay? So that's what you want to create.
Now, if any of this makes sense to you, what I'd like to encourage you to do is to contact our team, because we have a program where we will literally do all of this for you. So you don't have to think it through on your own. You don't have to go through all the steps and the methods. What we will do is we will actually get it done for you. So if this makes sense, just go to the description below this video and follow the instructions. It'll put you in touch with one of our team members. And from there on, we'll answer your questions and hopefully we'll work together as partners and we'll get it done for you.